right, welcome to everyone, and welcome to our new podcast. We didn't do it for a while. It was busy period in trading and in lives. Great to be back, and welcome to all our listeners. I have a great honor to have with us today here once again Peter Varcoe, a veteran trader. Peter, 25 years.
25 in September, this just gone.
Ah, So when you hear the word veteran, that's what it means. And a great trader, an author of two books. One of the books we will be talking about actually today. So for all those of you who do not know Peter, I really recommend you check out his books and his work. Absolute art. As an international certified financial technician, I been reading a lot of books on this subject. Peter, you know what it means, passing these exams and certification. That means I need to be able to sit on my butt and
Yeah.
read all these books. None of the books is even close to what Peter created on his subject. Absolute masterpiece. Don't take my word to that. Go scroll down through the book itself. See the examples and you will understand why it is a masterpiece that you really have to read. The links below this video in the description. Peter, welcome on board. Thanks for joining. We've been talking, doing this podcast for a while now, and then we decided to let's wait after the elections. It's going to be hot. It's going to be interesting. So thanks for joining. I hope everything is good on your side.
We're fine, thanks, mate. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you
Always
very
good to
much.
be with you.
Congratulations on your new book, as I mentioned before. Absolute masterpiece. As I said, I would even, I think someone of your readers already described it this way, the bridge between the practical and the theoretical to the reality in trading world. And it's absolutely,
Exactly.
that's exactly what it is about. To those who do not know or didn't see this book yet, that's the book I refer to. You will see it now on the screen, and you can check all the information below this video. In the description, I will put there the link for you. Peter, before I give the screen to you to go over the book, how your first book was really an art by itself. How do you take it from talking the charts, talking the what really is what really describes you the most in trading world, the patterns, and the validations or invalidations of all that. How do you take it to this talk about absolutely different subjects like building proper trading plan, what it means to have a trading plan, what it means to have set of rules, break down through everything, all the criteria, and to make sure it falls down in the right places, and then bam, you have a trade. What it takes to decide, go for such a move. I'm really curious about it.
It all started back in September of 1999 when I was told that I had to have a trading plan.
That's a long time ago.
Had no idea where to go, what to do, how to do it. All right. And many of people I've spoken with since had exactly the same. Let me ask you a question. How daunting was it for you to put together a trading plan when you first started all those years ago?
You know, this is a very underestimated, I would say.
It's an inglamorous subject.
People literally ignore it. Hey, who cares about
Yes.
the plan? Who cares about the
How
number?
do you get passionate about a trading plan? My passion's not the trading plan. My passion is seeing people succeed.
Mhm.
To do that, sometimes you got to get some of the boring stuff.
Most of the times.
Usually up front somewhere, so the boring stuff's out of the road. All right. I mean, the trading plan itself. I mean, how boring can it be? It's a difficult thing to. Firstly, the concept of it. What do you put into it? How do you put it in there? How do you put it together?
Would you agree to
To
say that
me,
the more boring it is, the better the chances your trading would actually be successful?
yeah, I've often said to students that if you're getting adrenaline rushes, you're too new. Right? If you're getting adrenaline rushes out of what you're doing, you
Yeah,
are not seasoned enough.
yeah. Couldn't agree
But
more.
look, I took the template that I've developed over over a period of about 12 odd years, and all I did was flesh the template out into a book. So and expanded on every point. So it was built. It had the template, which was the base skeleton. Then I'd actually add more skeleton to it, and then fill out each subject after that.
For
You know, and
for the readers,
that's the template that I sent to you about 2 years ago.
yeah, for
And
the
I said,
readers,
if memory serves me well, your comment was 2 words. That's gold.
yes, yes. These are the two words. But Peter, for the readers, trading plan by itself could be very uh, tremendous, as Trump like to say, right? Subject by itself. Trading plan could be the specific set of rules, what should happen in order for you to enter a trade. Trading plan should be what should happen for you to exit the trade, how much you are going in, how much you are going out, how much you are scaling in or out. All this falls in this category or this subject, trading plan. Um,
You're
Out
absolutely
of
right.
all that, what do you think is the most crucial for people to understand and to pay attention to? Because the majority of people, all they care about is how to enter trade. All the rest is like, eh.
Anyone can enter.
Sorry?
Anyone can enter a trade.
Yes, absolutely.
How do you manage it? How do you manage it once it's open? How do you pyramid in? You've got something that looks like it's going for a long run. How do you add further positions to it? How do you manage multiple stops? Yeah, I mean, I've showed you that one I did back in 2014 or 15, 2014, I think it was, pound New Zealand, right? Where it went, the pair went up 6,000 pips. But as you saw, there were multiple entries. There are 11 or 12 entries in that run. How do you manage all of that?
All right.
So you've got to be able to. Basically, I took the template and all the experience I've had over the last 25 now years, and just fleshed out the template itself. And while I actually give actual examples of setups in the book itself, that's not meant as an education for that setup. Show them how I've discovered the most effective way for me to have the screenshot of the setup, then the identification criteria underneath it, then the confirmation of that identification, and then a yes or no. Are we going with this now? And that's not meant to be there as an education on what to do, for example, for a 10 line break. It's there to show the people how I've found most effective to set each entry structure up and then each exit structure up, and then how you manage them after that.
Which is
So there's
the hardest
screenshots,
part.
identification.
Hello?
A lot of people have this fear of missing out. So their first sign of retracement, they just pull out, get out. Especially when there's been a long drive, you're always going to have a pullback before continuation. And a lot of people cut themselves short. So I explain a little bit on my theories on that. But an important part of it is goals right up front. Why do we have our goals up front? Well, hey, it's a lonely experience.
An
Right? Trading is a
experience,
lonely experience.
as we know, it's a beautiful word that we give to cover all our mistakes.
Yeah, experience might be the best teacher. It's not the only one.
Yeah.
But it's not a glamorous subject, but it is an essential subject. And that's the way I looked at it. Goals will, do your life goals, do your trading goals, link the two. I found especially early on that reading those goals up front helps focus you on what you're actually there to do. Let's not forget, going back 25 years, there was not Zoom Telegram group. There were no internet support group.
Right.
It was a lonely business.
Totally different world.
And I joke about it, but a lot of people think it's witchcraft. And I joke about the fact that my friends think I should be burnt at the stake accordingly. So it's especially patents. A lot of people still think of them as witchcraft. But when I first started, it was really overwhelming. I'll go back to high school. I failed English for one reason, one reason only. I couldn't sit at a blank piece of paper and come up with a concept and then turn it into a story. Give me a skeleton, I'll flesh it out really well for you. But I couldn't do it. So I had that issue when I first started doing trading. So blank page, nothing comes to mind. How do I put it together? So what do I do? What do I put in it? Where do I start? And there's a lot of upgrades. There was a very base structure there initially.
Yeah.
But then over a period of time, I developed, added, formulated, and what's more important, and what order do you put them in? The most basic order is, well, what's the first thing? It's identify an entry and then enter it. Then you need to exit structures, and you need to have you need to have your initial stop in immediately.
Absolutely.
Trailing stops come more under trade management than they do under risk management. So, and also the difference between risk management and trade management. So you look at things like that. Some of the things that people never consider.
most of the times, it always, this subject always reminds me. Maybe it's not the best metaphor, but like when you buy something from IKEA, which is something by itself, yeah. But when you buy something from IKEA, you have a very clean manual, very clean steps to follow, the template as you call it. If you are not going to follow that, there will be a complete mess up. At the end of the day, you will never be able to put it together, and at the end of the day, you would never be able to complete this furniture, whatever that you are building. Same thing with trading. There are steps, criteria at the beginning, criteria for the next steps. What should actually happen on the chart in order for you to make the next decisions? And unless one is able to follow that, the chances to really find success are very low. It has to be as boring as possible, as structured as possible.
Exactly.
Let's share a screen. Let me just make you the host.
Just quickly going back to your IKEA example. If you don't follow the actual plan and it looks different and you've got screws like right, if you don't follow the actual plan and it looks different to the photo at the end and you've got screws and nuts and bolts left over, well, something didn't happen right.
Yes. Exactly.
But let's go through the trading plan template that I actually used to build the book around.
Yeah, whenever you are ready, please share your screen.
So this is the template as I developed it. So basically there's 7 sections. So you're looking at goals. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Executive summary, well, that's just a 2 to 3 page overview of the important points so that you're not reading a 60, 70 page document every time you need to read it. An overview of each entry structure, setup, and its page number. And that way you can go straight to the exact example as you've set it up. So entry conditions, exit conditions, and again, screenshots and methodology all attached. Risk management. Risk management is an interesting subject.
Yes.
Right? We've all heard about trade risk. Right? We've all heard about, well, not actually, most people haven't heard about sector risk or instrument risk. It's advisable not to have too many open positions with involving a single currency. And I had one student one time tell me that they weren't overexposed to the USD. They only had Euro, USD, and I can't remember the other one. But they had oil, gold, and silver, and wheat, which are all measured in USD. They didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah.
So suddenly you got 6 positions open to exposed to the USD. Now, if you've got 2% maximum trade risk on each of those positions, you got 12% of your account balance exposed to the USD, and that's intolerable. But there are other risks that people don't consider, and I didn't consider until it happened to me. Platform risk. What happens when the platform goes broke?
That's a very, very, very important one, which could happen and happens once in a while.
Well, it happened to me in 2010. Sunray Capital Management in Australia. $72 million of $76 million of clients' funds went missing. It was embezzled.
Oh. What do you do in such situations?
Well, there's nothing you can do. You got to start again. Right. The advantage I had was 11 years of experience. So I started off with a bit more than I started off in 1999, and I had 11 years of experience under my belt, so it didn't take that long to start building again. And another one was MF Global.
Sorry?
In MF Global in 2011. It used to be Man Financial, and then it merged into MF Global. And John, can't remember his surname off the top of my head.
John, let's call him John.
John, anyway, he was head of MF Global when it went down. He was also involved with long-term capital mismanagement, as I call it, which went down in the 1990s after Russians defaulted on their debt. They had all these gurus that it's unbeatable. You can't lose. Well, they did 5 years of testing on it. If they'd have gone back another 2 years, they'd have found the 1987 stock market crash, and they might have had a different opinion. So you can't just test back to good times. You've got to test back to include the bad times. And a lot of people don't consider things like what are called systemic risk or black swan events.
Yeah.
Things that are allegedly you can't see coming.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, do you know where the term black swan event comes from?
Yeah, we all only know backwards. We can discuss about it, predict.
But the term black swan event, because it's unforeseeable, came about after the discovery of Australia. Every other swan in the world is white. Australia only has black swans.
Yeah.
That's where the term comes from.
Yeah. What do you call or how do you break down the sector and instrument risk?
I do that a lot in the book. I go in depth into that, and including some of the systemic and platform risks that are covered, that I actually cover and have been through. I mean, look at systemic risk. Well, the crash of the global financial crisis of 2007, there was no way you couldn't see that with any experience just in the stock markets.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, coming into the end of 2007, we had 4.5 years of extreme bull run. Well, the lead into the 1987 crash was only 5.25 years. And when I first started, I went back and just using the basics of support and resistance as it was taught to me initially. You'd have been out of most major companies 2 months before the crash of 1987. Same in 2007. You know what to read.
Do you think nowadays in 2024, a specific sector or instrument really carries enough risk or probability to cause a chaos to the whole market?
Well, that wasn't a specific sector. No, 87 and 2007 weren't specific sectors. It was an overall runs, and those stock market runs just can't last. They're going to change direction.
Of course.
Right? I mean, look at the US dollar. I was short on the US dollar before the day of the election. A lot of people looked at the polls. Don't look at the polls. Look at the betting markets. Polls are people answering questions to someone they don't know and not necessarily being willing to tell them the truth. The betting markets are the truth. That's where the real people are putting their real money where their mouth is.
It's always
the other thing is also look at the currency futures. Right? The outer currency futures, not the current futures contract, but next month, 2 months after, 3 months after that. That's where the big boys are telling you they believe it's going.
Yes.
And they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Even now, in the last elections, which we will talk about in a moment, even now, the day or two before the elections itself, when there was one poll favoring Kamala Harris over Trump.
Yeah, that was the Iowa poll.
Iowa poll, exactly. Red. And we saw the euro skyrocketing, the pound like nothing happened. bam, immediately, which turned to be, of course, a fake expectations. And then as soon as Trump numbers, as soon as the numbers became a reality, and as you said, as soon as the bookies went full, like 64% with Trump, that it was clean, and the dollar since then got such a momentum and continues until nowadays.
Well, it was just dollar strengthened enormously.
Yeah,
and that was just a foregone conclusion. If you assumed Trump was going to win, it was a foregone conclusion. That's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right, a $200 an ounce fall in gold immediately, and that's the US dollar strengthening.
Crazy to think about it.
Yeah, oil's dropped in value. Oil's going to continue to drop. A, through strengthening of the USD, but B, through extra production coming out of the United States over the next few years.
Yeah. And so
but,
that's exactly and amazing. Well, this I wouldn't maybe call it sector or instrument specific risk, but all these political, geopolitical changes, or what we call like the big power, the real power, how they shift the money instantly and actually cause major trends. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Look,
I'll give you an example in real time. What happened in 2015? The euro and the Swiss franc decoupling.
A very painful reminder.
Well, let's have a look at the euro franc.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the chart of it.
Yeah, but maybe open the chart on your platform. The share is
That's the 13th of January.
Can you
11th.
Can you zoom out a little bit, or maybe just how to go like more of it? Yeah, that's it. Oof.
All right, what do you know just about the pricing?
How flat is that?
Not only that, how much is the range reduced over the normal range?
Very, very thin.
Average range of a bar on that was 17 pips.
Suddenly, it's what, like 5, 10?
21. Suddenly, it's 6 to 9. But look where all the opens and closes are.
Something is happening. The storm is coming.
Exactly. So I went onto the futures contracts, and the open interest skyrocketed over that week.
But you see, it happened also in November, around the 17th of November. It was very, very flat by then as well, and nothing happened.
A couple of them were. So what I did was I went into the futures markets, the currency futures markets, and you can see the open interest was skyrocketing. It was enormous. And 3 days before the actual decoupling on H4, the New Zealand franc formed a perfect descending pennant. The entry was on the Monday. The decoupling was Thursday.
A clean sign that something is coming.
Exactly. That's unusual behavior. Have a look at the Swiss franc, the euro, and the franc. That there is totally unusual behavior. That's manipulation in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
This is how you can, this sort of knowledge and then having access to those sorts of charts can help you avoid what happened next, which was
it dropped like what? 0.9 instantly, 0.85. What was
that's what happened. That's what happened there.
Yeah.
So on Thursday, the 15th of January, the range of that bar was 3,425 pips.
This day was the fastest day I lost a significant portion of my capital in one day.
Well, that's the day that sealed the fate for FXCM, which was the biggest Forex broker in the world.
Yep. One day.
One day. That sealed FXCM's fate. They actually got a $300 million emergency loan from Lacodia in the United States, but that didn't save them. They ended up being sold off 18 months later to a European concern for pennies on the dollar, and they've never been the same since.
Yeah, that was brutal. What can I say? But you are absolutely right. Understand these little things, understanding and the the risk that is presented on the chart,
Yeah.
being able to understand what is happening around you, in that case, with the ceiling they were artificially holding, can simply prevent these risks.
Yeah, look, the important thing I wanted to say on the trading plan was that I'm not putting those examples in there to brag. It's to show people what they can do to help prevent being caught up by those events. The crash of 2007, right? It was seeable. It was readable.
It
Right,
was.
coming
It
in
was.
late
It was
2007.
building up so long. It was
Yeah, it
building
was.
up.
And then you got the volatility from about August to October of 2007. You could see it was going to happen. You could see something was going to happen. 4.5 year upward runs. It's going to change direction.
Same now. You know what? With
Yep.
everything happens now, and all the bubbles around us, it's a question of time until one of them actually explodes.
Yeah.
Of course, everyone will play surprised, but that's not surprising. The balloon has a very limited shape, how much it can be inflated, right? At some point, I can see a lot of balloons
Yeah.
behind. At some point, these balloons, they are gone.
Yeah. Sure. But in the template, I go through all sorts of stuff there, and then you get down to consolidation, and this is where you actually build it as a business.
Biggest
Put the
question:
whole.
do you think it will happen in Trump's period, or not?
I think the economic environment developed by Trump and his policies is not going to cause a crash. All right. Um, I mean, yeah, it happened at the end of 2007 under Bush's watch, but Bush had nothing to do with it,
Right.
right? Regulations. And then after Obama got in, they brought in the Dodd-Frank regulations, which ensured there was going to be another crash. That ensured that everyone had to put a certain amount of their fund under management into treasury bonds. So what happens when interest rate rises, as it normally does under a socialist government? The
Right.
value of the bonds falls through the floor,
Right. And there is
right?
so much risk outside of the US specifically, which is a bigger threat to the US economy, and not only to the world economy, rather than the US bubbles itself, right?
It's look at Europe. They're talking about putting immediate tariffs on American goods. Well, if you have a look at the tariff the proposal that Trump is proposing, it is aimed at the likes of China, and it's aimed at companies moving their production out of the United States into Mexico and other places, and therefore falling US employment as a result.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's aimed at. It's not aimed at existing free trade agreements like Australia and the USA. It's
Mm-hmm.
not aimed at Canada and the USA agreements. It's aimed at specific targets, not
Yep.
global targets. And this is where the media just keeps pumping rubbish up and just keeps going on. Like I said, don't believe media, don't believe polls. Look at the betting markets and look at the currency futures charts. That tells you where the big boys are putting their money.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the elections, Peter, we can't we can't skip this subject as it's all around us, and it's very funny how U.S. presidential elections becomes an entertainment, if we can call it
Mm.
this way, for everyone involved, especially in trading. What is your what are your thoughts first of all about Trump's win, which is not surprising from my point of view, and how do you see his contribution and his new agenda now that he has 4 years to revenge on all the things that they changed against him and the way that they try to treat him. How do you see this? Is it a real threat to America? Is it a real threat to the economy as we know it? Is it a great party time for cryptocurrency? Share us with your thoughts, please.
It's often said about Trump, you never take him literally, but you do take him seriously.
Absolutely.
The media always took him literally and not seriously.
Very true. Still do.
All right. Right. The question was asked in one interview was, there's things that you're going to be a dictator. So what do you say to that? He said, on day one, drill, baby, drill. That was the comment. And then the
He
media
already
just kept
works.
blowing it up. He wants to be a dictator. He's going to be a dictator. He's going to get the military in to shoot people. I mean, that's just, you just can't trust the media. So you got to look at, you got to operate with Trump, the premise that take him seriously, but not literally. Talking about Hillary Clinton, and she said, "Yeah, it's lucky you're not against that." And he said, "Well, what would be the look of jailing the ex-president's wife? Let's keep harmony. Take him seriously, not literally." At
Absolutely.
the new cabinet he's putting in place, he's got a good hit squad there.
The thing is, how can you take seriously a person who does all he can to not look serious? All his actions are very, like I would expect these actions from 8 grade-year-old teenager who has his hormones not under control, but definitely not from a
So
vice
what actions are
president.
you referring to? Are you referring to what has actually happened, or the media beat up of some of those things? I mean, the media is still going on about great people on both sides in the Charlottesville riots, when he only had to play an extra 45 seconds of that speech to find out he totally decried white supremacists and extremists on the left, but they cut that segment out. So
Yeah.
are we making that reaction based upon what we're seeing on the media, or are we making it based upon the full story? Um, Trump is a CEO. He also likes to be liked.
Yeah.
So when you start looking at it from that point of view, yeah, he is an appeaser. He is a deal maker. It's been a long time since I've read The Art of the Deal, but if
Yes.
you haven't read that book, it is a worthy read.
Yes.
It gives you an insight into him and how he reacts and how he does things.
But will he? Well, I guess the answer to that will be yes. But will he be able to fulfill his agenda with all the extremals, lunatic people he surrounds himself with?
Yeah,
Uh,
but which ones are you calling lunatics that he's surrounding himself with now? I mean,
Everyone.
Matt Gaetz is decried as not being qualified to run HHS or whichever one he's appointed to, but the current secretary of that is less qualified than Matt Gaetz.
Besides this lady who he appointed, I forgot her name, I apologize, which really seems a one that can run a show properly, respectfully. All the others, like Gates, even Musk, like these are people with very, if you take a spectrum, from one edge to another, there is none of them is close to the center. None of them is close to the
Oh,
logical steps. They are literally on a very edge of extreme.
I'd have to disagree with you there. There's no way you can call Tulsi Gabbard on either extremity.
That's a good point.
Right? Robert Kennedy on most things is not on either extremity. He's on the climate change scam, but he his main his main push is healthy foods, and he's got good scientific evidence to back up what he's talking about. So when you have a look at the overall picture, I think it's fairly balanced. I don't see extremists on either end. I see firebrands, right? Elon Musk, I mean, he's built Tesla, he's built SpaceX. The man's got vision and
The man
passion.
has vision, absolutely, and that's why maybe I'm completely wrong, but um, when you shift, when a ship is in the middle of a storm, and you suddenly you take the wheel, and you turn that extremely from left to the right, it will not balance the ship. It will just make it go in a bigger storm with itself. You know what I mean? Sorry if my
Yeah, but when you've got a trailing wind, you've got to turn the thing around and put the nose into the wind.
that is. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, that time will tell. One thing is clear: the Bitcoin is close to 100,000. As
Yep.
as he's elected, and
Yep,
I don't think it's going to stop.
exactly. I mean, you have a look at Homan, the guy in charge of border control. He has had thousands of retired ICE and military wanting to go and work for him to help right the wrong that's been there, and all the human trafficking and the child sex trafficking that's come into the United States over the last 4 years.
Mhm.
The Biden government lost track of 325,000 children. Right? They were not brought here for their good looks or longevity. They were brought here mainly for sex slavery. The United States is the biggest consumer of
Yes,
child pornography in the world.
yes,
I think Trump could do a lot worse than getting Tim Ballard involved in that side of things. Tim was long gone down there rescuing children from sex slavery and being kidnapped and stuff. He was working for Homeland Security at one stage, and they wouldn't let him finish a deal, so he actually left them and did it on his own, formed his own um, arm, and then came back financially for quite some time. And then he ended up heading up Glenn Beck's charity when Glenn actually sent, and the US government did not do that. In fact, they actively tried to stop him.
I did.
So they're the sorts of
Remember.
people I think it would do well to consult with as well.
Yeah,
So I don't see happening. I see people with. I mean, Tulsi was put on a no-fly list. Seriously, her crime to the Democrats was humanizing Trump. She was the up-and-coming star. She was the new Hillary,
yeah,
or perceived as the new Hillary. But her crime was humanizing Trump
yeah.
and then going against Hillary. And that's what got her kicked out, basically kicked out of cabinet and kicked out.
So you were comparing her to the new Hillary. Can you please continue from that point?
No, that she went against Hillary. That's why she was decried within the Democrat Party. And it was immediately after that that the weaponized Biden administration, after they got in 2021, the Homeland Security put Tulsi Gabbard on a no-fly list.
Yeah,
Seriously? They had Ted Kennedy on a no. Senator Ted Kennedy was on a no-fly list at one stage.
yeah.
That
Well,
sort of thing's ridiculous. But basically, the Justice Department got weaponized against anyone anyone in power or influence who didn't actually go along with the agenda.
yeah.
Now she's heading up the intelligence section. Good.
It should be. It should be. One thing is clear. It's going to be very interesting 4 years now. Expect
Yes.
the unexpected.
The other thing that you've got is that there's got to be a serious dents made in the first 18 months, because after that, then there's electioneering into the midterms, and then unless the cabinet, sorry, the Congress and the Senate play ball, then he can be tied up for the second half of the 4 years, for the second 2 years, to be
Yeah.
tied up and not be able to get anywhere.
But now having
Except by
the majority
executive
in the
order,
Senate,
president
the
combined.
House, it should give them a real power now.
Well, hopefully. But then they've got a good lineup. I mean, JD Vance is
It's
brilliant.
the only way to make changes. Good or bad, time will tell, but that's the only way to make changes. Do you think that brings me to the next important subject I wanted to talk to you about? We've been all exposed to, even though it's not in the mainstream, but on the last more than 4 years, the reality we all had is clearly manipulated, artificially structured numbers, declaring that the inflation is in one way. Now it's improving close to 2%, at least getting there. In many countries, it already
No, that's the headline. That's not the core inflation.
But in reality, prices do not stop on red light. They just continue more and more and more. The pressure is bigger and bigger and bigger on people.
Inflation is something that is most commonly misunderstood by the majority of people. Right? Inflation causes prices to go up. People think that when inflation stops, the prices come back down. That doesn't happen. It just means they're not going up anymore.
Absolutely.
When inflation slows down, it just means they're not going up as fast.
That's true.
It's not going back down. There'll be other causes. Because oil's going to fall, fuel prices are going to fall. All right. And because there's more production of oil in the United States, fuel prices are going to fall. But the difference between you've got what they call headline inflation and core inflation. Headline inflation is what they put out to the market. That's a basket of goods. It doesn't include energy, doesn't include transport, particularly foodstuffs. And originally they were major brands, but every now and again they change them out for cheaper brands.
Peter, you are
So
breaking.
say the basket of goods with a packet of Kellogg's cornflakes. Well, now it's some other generic brand.
Peter, you were breaking. Can you please repeat this part?
Okay. The two inflations, one is core inflation, which is basically a basket of goods, consumables, essentially food. And then there's headline inflation, which is that, and then there's core inflation, which includes electricity prices, it includes fuel prices, which are not included. Fuel prices in the United States are going to fall because of more production out of the United States is going to cause oil prices to go down. Refined products are going to fall, but a lot of the other foodstuffs, they're not necessarily going to fall necessarily immediately, but with lower fuel costs and energy costs, transfer upon the energy involved or the price of the energy involved.
Do you believe
the core inflation is the real inflation? It includes all the major contributors such as energy, fuel prices, and a lot of production costs that are not included in the headline inflation.
But as soon as the numbers were showing not as they want, they find a way to change the formula and to present less of the important or realistic numbers in order to make numbers fit their agenda.
Well, in Australia, they gave the Labor government gave everyone a rebate on their electricity bill.
Same in Canada. Well, not electricity, but carbon tax.
Yeah. But what that does is that lowers the core inflation. Sorry, that lowers the headline inflation.
Exactly.
Because the headline inflation is what people pay. But next quarter, when that's not there, that inflation is going to jump back up because people are not paying anything with the subsidy anymore. They're paying the full price again. And that's one of the ways they manipulate things.
Do you think it will stop now under the new
administration? Don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous.
It will be interesting because I do like Trump's straightforward approach when it comes to economy and everything. Even though his agenda is never admit a defeat, always present a victory, doesn't matter how it actually is. I still like his straightforward approach towards numbers. Show things as realistic and work towards that to make things actually better. So you think they will stop it at some point?
Show me any modern government from either side that admits defeat.
Yeah. Yeah. It will be interesting to see how this shift.
America was the largest net exporter of oil and fuels at the end of 2020. They can get back there again. That does enormous things for their economy.
Yeah.
All right. The production, the extra production, the new drilling, the new sites, it all provides employment. And then you got on-flowing employment from the support services for all of that. Then you got to move the product around. So all of these things contribute, and that's more people in employment, more people paying taxes, and less pressure on the government to supply services. You've only got to have a look at the tax when he lowered the company tax rate from 30% to 20%. early in the last session. And all the businesses that actually repatriated funds back into the United States from other countries where their headquarters were set up because the oppressive tax rates. Australia and the United States had the two highest corporate tax rates in the world. Australia now has the highest at 30%.
30%.
Panama is only 20%. The United States is 20%. And now he's saying if you bring your manufacturing back here, your tax rate's going to be 15%. And everyone's screeching he's giving tax breaks to the billionaires. Well, it's going to create more employment in the United States, more income tax, more money in the economy, and everyone's going to be better off.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. The on-flow effects are enormous.
Does it? It always amazes me how easy it is for them to find a way to present to the public and make public believe in any of the numbers they want to present, in any of the agenda they want to present. It's they find a story, they find a narrative, and like let's go with that. Even though behind the scenes things like losing the connection to reality. It's scary. So, Peter, you made several amazing calls in the last couple of months. One of them was short the euro dollar famous flag and long the dollar index famous flag. I think that you also shared with the Home Trader Club followers, and thank you very much for it, of course. That's again brings the piece of art of your ability to deal with technical patterns as they form on the charts. Would you mind to share the screen, discuss about these two, and maybe also show two interesting opportunities you have on your watch list for the coming, let's say, last 2 months or maybe even 2025? Let me make you host.
That was 25th of October.
Look at that beauty.
October 25th. Well, here you've got the dollar index. And basically you've got a nice clean run here, slight consolidation there. Not really a flag, there's too much gap here on the bottom. But this is quite easy to just identify there as a potential ascending flag.
Despite the key levels it's on right now.
Yeah. Have a look at how far it normally runs.
Yeah.
When this thing gets going, how far does it normally run?
Since 2023, what a beautiful range. 107, 100, and holding.
Yeah. And the other thing is you've got to remember that the flags, triangles, etc., are consolidation. So they normally occur at or near a support or resistance line.
So
that confirmed nicely on H4, and there it went. Now, this gets really interesting. It gets back to what happened after I released the book back in 2020, the second edition of the book back in 2020, because I'd noticed that since then, what has happened is frequently these patterns tag in, but then the stop hunts happen. And we've got to remember that most of the big boys know the basics of these patterns. Basically, everyone knows the basics of them, but they don't know the highly specific criteria that get you a higher probability of performance. And so the stop levels have been set differently than what we had in the book, which I've done actually courses on that for the book holders. And that stop got missed. It didn't get tagged in.
And look at this crazy rally since then.
Yeah. And that's up till that is today. Yeah.
And it still looks like it has more room to go.
Yeah, let's have a look at the resistance on it.
Yeah, we're there, but we know how many times it tries to spike through the resistance, at least for one or two attempts, before a reversal actually takes place.
I don't know how 1980 has much relevance on current, but I've got 40 years of data here.
I think it's more than
But
enough.
this is where its resistance is. Well, that's an interesting looking zone when you take that into consideration.
We have one around 110, I believe. That's also around numbers, psychological numbers. So if it breaks this one, it might be unstoppable.
Well, if you're looking at 110 as the psychological side, well, there it is.
Yeah.
If it continues on, you're looking at 109.78 being its next potential stop. You've got a couple of levels in here, but nothing significant.
With Trump in administration from January, with the Federal Reserve losing its credibility to cut the rates
From the psychological
aggressively,
point of view, yeah, you're 40 points logical potential stop.
could be easily reached.
Yeah, it could be easily reached. I mean, it's not like there's anything in set in concrete that says no, it can't get there.
Do you have any
And you got
other
that.
interesting instruments that you have on your watch list to trade?
No, I've been more waiting for things to settle down after the election before I go looking more for longer term type things at the moment.
It's been weeks.
Everything got turned around, but I mean, gold was predictable. You knew that was going to happen. Once Trump got in, the dollar was going to strengthen immediately.
You think
That
gold
meant
is
price of gold was going to fall. It was just a foregone conclusion.
you think gold has more room to the downside?
Probably, but it's been essentially a knee-jerk reaction so far. It's just been drives, right? So, yeah, that's the day of the election.
Boom.
Yeah. Now you've got a potential descending pennant here, but my issue is if that had happened down here, I'd have had it with both hands. But that there as part of the reversal is not a reliable formation. But yeah, look at the ranges on this. It's coming back now. Knee-jerk reaction. Where will it settle? Don't know. But there's nothing significant there at the moment telling me an actual signal
Agree.
for the structure
The levels are interesting
I
though.
work on.
The levels are interesting. We are close to 2700 round number and previous peak before the reversal took place. Could be interesting. The big fear here with the gold now with Putin new, I would say, or renewed threats with nuclear war. That could be very volatile for for the gold and not
Where's it going to go? Just got to look at all of this. You know, it's all part of the weakening US dollar.
Mhm.
More so than probably some threat of war in there. But I did find it was crazy. The value of oil nearly doubled between when Biden took power and Putin went into Ukraine.
Yeah. So do you still have your view as in favor of the dollar, generally speaking, and every opportunity should be seized to ride the dollar strength?
Well, it's going to find a strength level somewhere, but where that's going to be, I really don't know at this point in time. It will settle down. That will happen, but where that's going to be, well, let's wait and see.
Right. That's why I always say in the Home Trader Club, as you know, our goal as traders, it's not to predict, but it's to react to the way that the price acts. So we need to watch the chart, wait for the opportunities, act when the right time comes.
Yeah, so you can see the week of the inauguration, oil was $52 a barrel, and the week that Putin went into Ukraine, it was $99 a barrel. So that price rise had nothing to do with Putin. That was all about Democrat policy.
Hold on, Peter. You were frozen for about a couple minutes. Do you mind
Okay.
restart the oil, please?
Yeah. I mean, oil was rising coming into that was the election in November. This was the inauguration week in January of 2021. Oil was low of 51.78, 51.77, but it closed at 52 that week. And here's the week that Putin went into Ukraine, and it was at 99, nearly $100 a barrel. All that rise occurred because of Democrat policy. There was no Putin price hike in that, but that's what they blamed, and the media just went and ran with it. I mean, this is part of the call it misinformation agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And you see places like Australia, and I believe it's coming in Canada as well, where they're looking at putting government-controlled misinformation, disinformation bills in, where the only truth is what the government says. And that's scary.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, but let's have a look at the Euro USD. That was just a beautifully easy, nice little descending flag.
It was. It was kind of a mirror to what we saw on the dollar index, but
Well,
absolutely
that makes sense because in the dollar index, it's one of the quote currencies, and on the Euro USD, it's the base currency.
more than 70%.
70. I thought it was 57%. I could be wrong.
Maybe these numbers changed. Maybe yeah. It's
No.
I remember the days 2000. When was it? 2012, 13. It was about close to 70% in influence.
Yeah, it's predominantly the euro. They say it's a basket of currencies, but the Swedish krona is in that, and Sweden is not a big trading nation with the United States, so I have no idea why it's in the DXY.
Right.
But yeah, in the DXY, this is the US dollar compared to the euro and some others. So the euro is part of the quote currency in this pair, but it is the base currency in this.
Right.
So what you're looking at doing is seeing what the US dollar is doing compared to the euro, not what the euro is doing compared to the USD.
True. Peter,
Right.
I would like to take the opportunity and to thank you very much for taking the time, joining us here, contributing your, I would say, inspirational and many times work and your knowledge, the way you share it with others. Highly recommend once again to everyone who didn't yet have the chance to read any of Peter's book, go and do it because it's an absolute art, essential knowledge for traders in all the levels. Especially, my how I admire your work in the trading pattern book. It was really amazing. So well done for you, and thank you very much again for taking the time to join us here, discuss all the interesting subjects we have. Let's hope we will see the world in more peaceful days on the next four years rather than it was the last 3 years. I myself have family in both areas under war right now, which is affected directly. So I'm just praying for calmer, better days. Thank you for joining. Please say hi to Janice and
Yep.
have a wonderful continuation of the day, and I'll see you in the Home Trader Club.
We will. Just with the book, look, it's an inglamorous subject. It's not a glamorous subject like patents is, but it is an essential subject. And it goes through the template that I've developed over a period of nearly 15 years. And the book is fleshed out on each part of that template. So it's It's the most comprehensive book I've seen on the subject. No one goes into that sort of detail, and certainly no one talks about platform risk or systemic risk, which are both essential. One of the way to avoid platform risk is once you've got a decent sized account, have more than one platform. If you've got 4 platforms and one goes down, the maximum you can lose is 25% of your capital. Well, I've recovered from a 25% drawdown. It's not a problem.
True. That's a great point. That's absolutely great point.
So but that's one way of doing things. And the systemic risk, well, a lot of that is readable when you know where to go and look, and that just relies on imagination and some knowledge and experience. But you can find ways, and I go into both of those in a lot of detail in the book. And yes, there's some of it's boring, but it covers a lot of essential subjects that a lot of people don't consider and don't realize they need to take into account.
I think that
So
these are
yeah,
the most important subjects because the love people have for the charts and for the indicators and the systems and trading,
yeah.
whatever, it's understandable. But it's like I always compare it like to sports life. If you go to gym, but your diet is a disaster, there is no way that the gym is going to help you. You are wasting your time there. Same,
And
same with trading. Unless you go and do any of the risk estimation, follow specific plan, follow specific steps and template, then you're wasting your time.
well, I relate it back to the old saying, practice makes perfect. Well, that's actually a fallacy. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You can practice all you want on an imperfect or incomplete technique, and you'll become very good at an imperfect or incomplete technique,
Absolutely.
not the absolute technique or the total technique.
Couldn't agree with you
And
more here. Couldn't agree with you.
and trading plan it can be a boring subject, but it does help round out the whole trading overall, not just a certain aspect of it, but everything overall. And an important part of the book is at the end of the consolidation, where we're showing how to run it, how to set it up as a business, how to run it as a business. And anyone involved in business with HTC at the moment will recognize how that works. But then also integration back into your trading and getting family involvement, which is an important part of the whole process if you're going to do this long term. And getting, kids can help you do some of the other chores you would normally do to generate more time for your trading. On the other hand, I've got a mate in England who is teaching his 2 sons, and anything they pick that is successful, he'll trade it for them, and a percentage of that profit on that trade goes into a future account for them under their own name, which he trades in the meantime. When they leave school at 18, and they're only 7 and 9 at the moment, when they leave school at 18, they're both going to have a fortune in their accounts, and they'll know how to stand. They can do any job they want because they want to do it, because they'll be able to support themselves totally of what's already there and what they've learned in the meantime. So family involvement in this can be a brilliant, brilliant outcome for the kids.
Absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned that I'm doing a sort of similar thing. A fund dedicated for the kids and their future, and it's separate from everything I do for my own and the family. But it's dedicated
Yeah,
to them, step by step, slowly, steady, consistent. By the time they are there, salute, kids. Now you have everything you need. Now the wheel is in your hands. Take it from there.
yeah. But what he's doing is he's getting them involved in the actual trading, and whatever they see and pick, and he trades a percentage of that. He trades it for the fund, but he also trades his own money outside of that, and then portion of what he makes of it, he says is attributable to them. So that goes back into their fund as well. Yeah, so it ends up being really exciting for the kids because they can see not only their fund growing, but they're taking money off their father because whatever he trades that they pick, some of that goes into their fund as well.
Well, yeah, well done, well done. I again, whatever works for him, as long as it's systematic, right?
Yeah. But even on the business side of it, you're going to have shared family goals where everyone contributes to that. And a lot of that's based around your success as trading. So the book goes into a lot of that sort of aspect as well, lifestyle as well.
Peter, once again, thank you very, very much. for joining and for sharing your insights. Much appreciated.
Not a problem. Thanks for the opportunity and good to be with you again.
I'll see you in Home Trader Club. All the best. Thanks for everyone for taking the time to listen to this great conversation with Peter Varcoe. I love speaking to Peter. You know, it's not the first time and hopefully not the last time. Peter has tremendous knowledge when it comes to trading, tons of experience, way more than I secret to tell you guys, way more than I do. Sometimes when I speak to Peter, I feel like a kid in diapers still. So much more to learn, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for taking the time to watch. The book can be found below this video in the description. Best to you and yours. Thanks for watching. I'll see you sometime soon in the next episode. All the best with trading. See you,
Have a great
Peter.
day.
Speak soon.
Bye.